Okay, Rabbi, good evening. So, last week we talked about the Chet Egel, right? The sin of the golden calf. We talked over there about the severity of the sin and what kind of effects it had on the Jewish people at that time, and how the people were punished, and everything was order was brought back. But now we have to discuss something even deeper, which is the issue of what the sin of the golden calf did to the Jewish people in the long run, right? As a nation, as a people. So here, the truth is, right, that this is a very, very deep and severe discussion. This discussion. Why is that? Because the golden calf was the antithesis of what a Jew was supposed to be. This was a disgrace. It was a shame. You know what I mean? And this disgrace and shame where was it done? In public, in front of everybody's eyes. The whole world saw it, you know? It was on internet, CNN, Fox, everybody caught it. That's what it was. Nobody, this didn't escape anybody's attention.
The whole mountain knew.
So because of this situation, right, this is what we call a desecration of God's name. That's what we call that. God's name was desecrated. Just like, those guys in Congress, right? The same thing, right? But here, this was even on a grander scale. What happened over here? What does that mean? That all of a sudden, the Jewish people, the epitome of creation, the pinnacle of creation, the Jewish people, the chosen people, all of a sudden, they became degenerates, lowlifes. In 1 second, just like that, pach, Moshe Rabbeinu came a few minutes late, and all of a sudden, right, turned into chaos, anarchy, That's what happened, right? So what that meant was that all the nations in the world, all the goyim, they saw this event. So what that did was that opened up to them, that opened up in their hearts, in their minds, a Pandora's box kind of thing, like in other words, a hole, an opportunity to disgrace the Jewish people and to put them down and to say, you guys are not so holy, you guys are not so righteous, you guys are pretty bad. We're not any worse than you. Don't try to say you're better than us. You know why? Because look what you did, right? Just 40 days after you received the Torah, this is what you do. And now you come and tell us, right, oh, you guys are idolaters and you guys are this. And, what about you? Look at yourselves over there. So what does that mean? That every time these issues come up in the heavenly court, things are discussed over there, things are, weighed. So what happens is that this always comes into the discussion. But the Jewish people, the golden calf, they're not any better than anybody else. Look what they did. That's what they say. In heaven, here and down on earth, you guys are not better than us. You're talking about us. Well, look at yourself. 40 days after you receive the Torah, you open up a church. Wow. You're coming and talking about us. So therefore, what happened was, right, this became an eternal point of disgrace for the Jewish people. That this happened, such a thing was able to happen right in front of God's nose, right under His nose. He just gave you the Torah. You're standing on the Mount Sinai, at the footsteps of Mount Sinai, and this is what you do. So what happened was that Kadosh Baruch Hu, his honor was disgraced over here very greatly, and therefore, what he wanted to do was just destroy the Jewish people altogether. They don't deserve to exist. If this is what they do, what benefit do I have from them? What do I need from them? So as we said, right, last week, that Moshe Rabbeinu was able to assuage his wrath, right, and calm him down. Okay, fine. He did a good job. He did a great job. He was a great defense attorney. But what happened was that in the long run, this event still plagues the Jewish people, plagues our pride, our dignity. You know what they say, right, the Chazal? That every time that the Jews do sin, and they get punished for their sin, you know what happens? The Kadosh Baruch Hu punishes them also a little bit for the golden calf. Every time the Jews get punished for something, a little bit of the golden calf is also there as a punishment. So what does that mean? That the sin was so great that it could not have been atoned for in one generation. Can you imagine? That's how great it was. It has to be atoned for in every generation until Mashiach comes. More punishment, more punishment, more punishment. Every time the Jews get punished, this is also part of it. because it goes on forever. Can you imagine? It's an eternal disgrace, eternal punishment for the Jewish people because they worship the calf. They let this event occur. So this also, by the way, had repercussions for Aaron, right? Because as I said, that he was threatened, his life was threatened, and therefore he allowed them to do this. But HaKadosh Baruch Hu didn't, take it so easily. This thing, like, oh yeah, well, your life was threatened, and you gave in, you caved in, huh? Oh, okay, that's okay, Go home and everything's okay, don't worry. Have dinner, go have dinner. It doesn't work like that, That he has also a responsibility, Aaron, for what happened over here. He didn't object enough. He didn't work hard enough to prevent this. So therefore, Kadosh Baruch Hu said to Aaron, "You know what's going to be right. Right now, I decree on you, your two sons are going to die, right? So the truth is, right, that they were supposed to die at that time because that's when the sin was done. So Kadosh Baruch Hu told them, you know what? I'm not going to kill them now, your sons, at this time, even though they deserve to die now. But what's going to happen is I'm going to wait a little bit longer. Why? Because you can't now mix up the celebration of receiving the Torah and now having a death over there and the whole mourning doesn't go together very well. So therefore, what he did was Kadosh Baruch Hu said, you know what? I'm going to wait. They're liable to death, your sons, but I'm going to wait for a few months until they build the Mishkan, they build the tabernacle, and then once they build the tabernacle, they went in. Their two sons, Nadav and Avihu, of Aaron the Kohen. They went inside and they offered a strange offering, which was not supposed to be offered, and therefore they died. There was all kinds of reasons why that happened. We're going to talk about that later on. Right? This is not the time for that, but what we see that Aaron was also punished greatly because of this. Right? What he did, that he just let this slip by like that. What kind of thing is this? If you're a leader, you're responsible for the generation. You have to.
How was he supposed to stop all these sinners?
He should have risked his life. I guess. I guess we have to say that. That when you're a leader, you can't just say, oh yeah, I'll save myself. I'll save my hide.
That's what I guess.
The example is like this, right?
But I think he was outraged. No, he told them to
Of course, he was outraged, but the problem was that he was silent. In other words, he didn't really object. He didn't really, he had to stand up. Like we said, right? When the atrocities are committed, people have to stand up and object. I'll give you an example. I'll tell you just an hour ago, before you guys came, I was speaking to somebody over here, one of the Gabbaim. He told me a story. What happened was in communist Russia, but this was in Georgia where we lived, in Tbilisi, in the capital city of Georgia. What happened was they had a certain rabbi there who was teaching Torah at the time of the communists. This was like 50 years ago, before we came, before the migration. So what happened was that his name was whatever his name was. I don't remember the name, but anyway, the point is that this rabbi was teaching Torah. Came the communists, they sent officers, police, they arrested him. They came. He was teaching for years. And when you teach Torah in Russia, what happens? You go to Siberia, right? That's what it was. And the communists were to send you to Siberia. That was the punishment.
Georgia, I thought there was more leniency there.
There was, but still, they tried also over there to shut it down. They did, by the way, to a large extent.
Set examples.
So what happened was, right, they came, by the way, for example, how did they shut it down? They only had one shul open in Tbilisi. Usually they used to have more shuls.
Yeah.
But they shut down all of them, they left one open, just like, as a figurehead, it's like, oh yeah, we don't really persecute religion, like, whatever, to make it look like that.
Oh, I didn't know this.
Yeah, they shut everything down. All the schools, all the yeshivot, they shut down everything, right? They shut down all the Talmud Torah. So what happened was that this rabbi now, they came and arrested him. Just like that. So this guy was actually there when they arrested him. He saw that. So he gets very nervous. Why? Because he was also studying with this rabbi. He was learning from him. Just like we're studying together now, they were studying together. So what happened? They weren't on YouTube, whatever. But besides that, they weren't on Facebook, but they were studying. So what happened was that he ran to his father when he saw that. He was very nervous. He was a child. He ran to his father and he tells him, he says, Abba, he says, they arrested the rabbi. They came. He says, what? Huh? He says he couldn't believe it, right? So he says he got dressed, he came very fast. He was sleeping, whatever. He was in bed, got out, got dressed very fast. He said, told him, go run over there. Go run and see what's going on. So he says, what happened? What happened was that when he ran back there to the scene of the arrest, all the Jews had gathered, to object the arrest. Can you imagine? In Tbilisi, all the Jews had gathered, and they wanted to object. So what they did was, in order to block them, they blocked the whole street with people. The whole thing was congested, So they started to threaten them. They said, you do something to our rabbi, we're going to take care of you. Can you imagine? So they took him in the end. They took him out. They took him to the police station. So what happened was all the Jews came to the police station. They came to the police station, and they started to riot outside. Like scream, yell, this and that. And one of them comes into the police station. He says, "What did you do?" He says, "You lowlifes. You arrested our rabbi." They're telling like that to the police. Lowlifes. They said, what did he do? What are you doing? He's teaching Torah. He's not allowed to teach Torah. That's what he told them. That's why So they said, if you don't let him go, he says, we're going to burn down this place. We're going to burn it down. They threatened them like that. So you see from there, by the way, how vigilant they were, the Jews, in those days. That they were so strong, and they released them because they were scared that they were actually gonna,
You go there and do that to Washington? They won't let you in Washington. You're not allowed to go to Washington with any arms.
Yeah, they didn't have arms. They were not armed.
In Washington,
they were not armed.
You can't go.
We can go without arms. What are they going to do?
You can't go without arms, but you know what? There's military there, and they got guns.
What happened was, but Baruch Hashem, in Washington, they're not arresting rabbis. Baruch Hashem, we don't have a problem with that. So you see, right, how things were in those days. Things were different, But here, Aaron HaKohen, the great leader of the generation, one of the great leaders, just sits there, okay, yeah, well, let's see what happens. What kind of thing is this, You're the leader, right? What, even the Goyim have this rule, right? That when a captain of a ship is he has to wait till everybody's out. He can't leave.
Yeah.
If you abandon, you get arrested for that.
He's the last one.
Yeah, you get arrested for that. It's you're breaking the law.
He has to make sure everybody's safe.
There was actually a case like this recently, several years ago. There was a big cruise ship, one of those fancy cruise liners.
I remember.
Yeah. So the captain who was
the
like,
Italian guy.
yeah, Italian guy, right? Exactly. Yeah, he ran off. He ran off. Yeah, he ran off. So they prosecuted him because of that.
Yeah.
So that's the way it is. This is the rule. So this guy, you're the captain of the ship, and you're just like abandoning the ship and going. What kind of thing is this?
To kill his children.
You have to give up your life for that.
Punish him a different way.
What's there to how can you should have killed yourself? You know what I mean?
I don't know. Take his leg or something.
You want to teach God now how to punish somebody? They can't teach God how to punish, right? He knows how to punish. So
the name of the boat was Ill what?
He should have given him probation, maybe, right, for 30 days, like they do over here, right, in America. 30 days probation. That's really going to help you, right? Okay. So what happened was,
we'll give you more food stamps.
Right. So what happened was that Kadosh Baruch Hu said, "What is this? What is what you do to my people? You let them sin like this? This was an eternal, sin which was going to stain the Jewish people forever."
Why couldn't God? I'm not challenging Hashem, but why couldn't He put a stop to it with, by Himself?
Because that's the whole plan. That everything should happen free will. It's free will, It's a free country.
Opening up the sea.
Yeah.
It wasn't free will.
That's
He
different,
did
but
yeah, but that has nothing to do with you, But you choose what you want to do. That's your business. Nobody can force you what to do.
You have a will.
Right. That's God's will. God's will was to split the sea, but your will is to do what you want to do. Whatever. But the point is that Aaron was severely punished for what he did. That he caused the Jewish people like
Aaron?
this.
He dropped the thing. Remember?
Absolutely. This is a very.
The movie doesn't deal with that, by the way.
Yes, he did. It says they made me do it.
Right, but it doesn't show how he gets punished and then he sits down.
Oh, no, don't show that.
So, okay, so.
No, what he says in the movie is that they overpowered him, which was true.
They forced me to do it, to make my hand.
They overpowered.
Yeah, but he should have objected.
They would have killed him.
He should have. You don't know what's gonna. Maybe, we don't know what's gonna be, right? We don't know what's gonna be. But he should have, he should have taken charge. You're a leader. That's what you're a leader for, Not to be a scaredy cat.
Quacking, Dathan was the one always quacking against the Jews.
Right. Not to be a scaredy cat, We're not to be. You're not. That's not why you're a leader. To be a
Doesn't
scaredy
depict
cat.
Nathan in the Bible?
Sure, yeah. I mean,
It does?
where do you think they got it from?
That Putz.
Nathan.
Yeah, the little Jewish guy plays him, Edward G. Robinson.
Yeah.
We're free, Moses. We're free people. We don't have to do what you know. What
Right, he came down the mountain with this thing. Who made that for you, Moses?
Okay, let's go. Let's try to go beyond the movie, guys. Let's try to get beyond it a little bit.
So Nathan,
beyond Hollywood.
Nathan is mentioned. How is he mentioned? Is he an antagonist in the Bible?
We're gonna talk about it some other time. I think we actually had some lectures on that. Datan Baviram, these two guys.
You come with me back to Israel with his food.
But anyway, Rabbi, what happened was that this was considered to be a major problem because of this reason. Because the Goyim now saw this, and by the way, this opened up really for the world a load of sins also. What does that mean? That because the Jewish people were capable of doing such a thing like that, so now Kadosh Baruch Hu also tolerates that the Goyim do it also. Because why? Because every time something comes up, this kind of discussion, they say, well, the Jews did it too. We're not the only ones. So they get away with a lot of things because of that. You understand? Same thing, by the way, happened in the first temple. During the first temple, there was Yerovam ben Nebat, right, who also built idols in Israel. When the civil war was fought and the nation split up into two, he also brought idolatry. So this was the same thing also happened over there. So all these events, allowed that the Goyim should also be able to do these kinds of things, because otherwise they'd have to be punished and killed. Because nobody's allowed to do idolatry.
So the world revolves around us.
Yeah, that's what it is, Sure.
Be more lenient.
Yeah. So therefore what happened was that this opened up a big box, for all kinds of things which never, should have been in the world. But this is what happened, that the Jewish people brought this concept, that this was allowed to happen, such a thing like this. It was a great disgrace to the Jewish people, to the whole world as a whole as well. That's one thing, right? But the truth is that there's something even deeper than that. I'm just now what I just told you just on the surface. But if you go even deeper, there's a bigger issue here, much bigger actually. What really happened over here was that that the whole world changed because of this. This was like a game changer. You understand? It was a deal breaker. This thing. This was not something very, very small. So what does that mean? The truth is that when the Jews came to Mount Sinai, Har Sinai, and they accepted the Torah, you know what that meant? That meant that all the sin of Adam Arishon was now rectified. They came back now, the Jews, and rectified the whole sin of Adam Arishon. Everything was supposed to be now picture perfect. What does that mean? They're supposed to be living in a Gan Eden. No work, alternate side parking suspended forever. You know what I mean? No jobs, no business, no commerce, you don't need anything. Everything comes for free.
Free checks.
Right. You just reach over, you get your food, it's right there for you. Like this. No death. The Jews were not supposed to die anymore. Why? Because the Satan had no power over them anymore to kill them. Who's the one who kills the people? The Satan. So Kadosh Baruch Hu told the Satan, you see my people? They accepted the Torah. Now you have no power over them. Don't touch them. Don't get near. Don't come close to them.
So we were supposed to be in heaven.
Right. This was supposed to be the beginning of the world to come, This is what it was supposed to be.
Messiah.
Can you imagine? Yeah. Moshe Rabbeinu was the Messiah. Yeah. He was Mashiach. So what happened was that now, because of this sin, the whole game was totally changed. What does that mean? All of a sudden now, death comes back into the world. All of a sudden, accusations. All of a sudden, the Yetzer Hara, the Satan now can kill them, can take their souls. All of a sudden now they have to work and make a living like they used to before. Not like in Gan Eden, everything's for free. Everything just comes to you. Why? What is it? Because,
I didn't know that. Because God
Yeah.
tells Adam, now that you sinned, you're going to sweat.
You have to work. Yeah, you have to work.
You
Yeah.
have to work.
Right.
So then it was repeated in a way.
Yeah, the same thing came back to itself again. Right. It was repeated itself. It repeated itself.
Did it ever happen again after that? No. That wasn't.
That what? That.
We're suffering since then.
Yeah, I mean until Mashiach comes, we're not going to reach that point anymore.
So
Right?
God gave us two chances.
Right.
After Adam sinned, we were still redeemed when we received the
Right.
law.
There was a redemption. It was total redemption.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
But the cat screwed it up again.
Right.
Edward G. Robinson.
No. Moses.
Yeah.
Who was Moses? The deliverer.
So what happened was They were supposed to get everything that Gan Eden. Now all of a sudden back to scratch, again, back to the old days.
I had to make teeth for 30 years.
That's what I'm talking about, You have to go farm the land and, and plow and sow and reap and, and this and all.
Because of mice.
Slavery.
I didn't know it was because
So
of
this was because of the calf. All these things happened because of the calf. Also, the Jews had a crown that they had. Each one had a crown. What does that mean? This is something spiritual, Like everyone has a spiritual largeness, greatness.
Aura.
Yeah, right, exactly. You see him, like, whoa, set back. So the Jews had this kind of thing, and because of this, it was taken away as well, right? As it says in the Torah itself. It says that the crown was taken away. They had to take off their crowns, it says, right? That's what it says. Right? They had to remove the crowns. They said, no more crowns for you. No more Gan Eden for you. Now it's going to be back to death again. Everything back to, the way it was before.
No more
but besides that, right, there's something even more profound than that. I guess that we could live with, but the problem was, right, that there was also the symbol of what happened. Moshe Rabbeinu came down and he broke the tablets, right?
Right.
Shattered them.
There was 3, right?
2 of them. Right.
Another movie.
So.
Right?
Mel Brooks.
Oh, okay.
It was funny.
Okay. So he shattered the tablets. This was also something very deep over here. Why did he do that? For what did he do? What did he do?
Was he told to do that?
We spoke. No, he wasn't told. We spoke last week, right? That one of the reasons why he did it was because he wanted to annul the covenant. So they shouldn't be punished. They shouldn't be destroyed. There should be no more covenant. It doesn't exist, the covenant. I destroyed it. It tells Hashem, listen, you have a covenant with them. They broke it. The covenant is gone. It doesn't exist anymore. It's been nullified. I broke it. So actually, Moshe Rabbeinu, right, was very worried about that. He said, you know what? Maybe I sinned that I broke the tablets like that. Maybe I did the wrong thing. Hashem didn't tell him to do it, right? So he was worried. So Hashem came to him and he told him, you know what he said to him? He said, Moshe Rabbeinu, he says, right, Yesha kochacha, right? What does that mean? Chazak u'baruch, very good that you broke it. Good, you did very well. You broke those tablets. Excellent job, top notch. Why did he tell him that? What's the reason why he told him it was very good? So there's something over here very deep. That, when you're living in Gan Eden, when you're living in the world of paradise, everything is beautiful and wonderful and peachy and rosy. So what happens is that also the Torah that you get is nice, easy, spoon feed. Don't have to work hard for it and go to school, and write and, look, copy over and all kinds of things and, study and do homework, all these like cumbersome things that a person has to do. Study over and do, again, right, go review your studies. If you forgot something, this is hard to do these things. To study and to break your head. Say, I can't understand this. Why is it like this? Why is it like that? To go into the depths of these things and try to figure it out, it's hard, it's difficult, very mentally very challenging, these things. So what happened was that Kadosh Baruch Hu wanted everything to be easy. The first tablets was a symbol for this concept. What does that mean? That everything was done by Hashem, right? He's the one who hewed the tablets, and he's the one who wrote on the tablets. Everything was done for free. All you do is just take it and receive it. Thank you. Oh, very nice. Very good. But now, all of a sudden, right, tells Moshe Rabbeinu, this time you got to do the work. You got to hew out the tablets. I'm not going to do it this time. So why did he tell him this? You got to do it. Why? Why you? What? God was tired? His hands were. He needed to rest his hands. What
He's slouching.
Right? What happened? Right? What happened? He was on vacation. He went to Puerto Rico. Right? What happened? So the answer is very simple. Not so simple, but it's actually very deep. What this meant was that this time, I'm going to give you the Torah again. Okay, don't worry. You'll receive the Torah. But this time it's going to be a different experience altogether. A different trip altogether. Different trip. What does that mean? Before, everything was nice and pleasant and easy, and just sit there and enjoy yourself, with no work, no labor.
Strap yourself
right?
in.
Right. And just enjoy the ride, Yeah, just enjoy. But now, no. This time, if you want to learn Torah, you have to work hard, roll up your sleeves, open up the book, start, looking there, staying up late at night, not sleeping, lacking sleep, lacking food, right? Self-sacrifice. You have to cause pain to yourself. You gotta self-inflict yourself a little bit, right? Otherwise, you can't study. It's very hard to study Torah if you don't do that. So why? What's the reason why? Torah is not so easy anymore. It's not a freebie anymore like it used to be. So you know why? Because the Kadosh Baruch Hu said, since you didn't appreciate it when I gave it to you as a freebie, so now this time you got to work hard now. What does that mean? The first thing, by the way, a person, who studies Torah, what does he encounter? The first challenge that he encounters. You know what it is? The language barrier. Because, we live in a foreign country. We don't really speak Hebrew. We don't really know Hebrew very well. So what happens is that we have to start opening up. First read, start learning how to read. Okay, reading is okay. You can learn how to read in 2 weeks. Okay. 2 weeks, a month, you can learn. Okay, no problem. That's not the only thing. You also have to understand. You have to know the words, the verbs, the nouns, the grammar. This adjectives and blah blah blah, prefix, suffix, root words, all kinds of things. Wow, this is like a big job. So this is like a big headache. A person, most people, by the way, don't get past this barrier. What does that mean? They don't really learn Hebrew very well because it's very hard work. You have to spend like 2-3 years to really, pick up the language, to know it really, really strong. Otherwise, you're not really going to understand what the Torah is telling you anyway, right? Unless you look in the King James translation, right, which is, very inaccurate.
Plus, there's no vowels.
It's very inaccurate. These translations.
Right.
You know what it is, right? They say, right? One of the rabbis said something smart. He said, learning the Torah as a translation, it's like kissing your bride through a veil. You don't pick up the veil. What kind of kiss is that? You don't enjoy a kiss like that. Through the veil, you kiss her. Right? You got to pick up the veil first. So same thing, when you're learning the Torah through translation, it's like there's a barrier between you and the Torah. Tell that to those Farrakhan and all those guys, right? They think they're learning the Torah. What they're learning is they're kissing the veil. They're not kissing the Torah. You understand? They're kissing something on the outside. All their lies and distortions, all the things that they say, all these nonsense they talk about. Because they're not really learning the Torah. If you don't know Hebrew, you really learn Torah. You don't know nothing about Torah. You're on the outside. You're like, in the outer room. You're not in the inner room with God. That's not the way it works. It doesn't work like that. A person doesn't learn Torah in Hebrew, he doesn't really understand it. So Kadosh Baruch Hu says, you want to get close to me? You got to get first through the language barrier. And then there's also another barrier, right? Which is what? To get through the logic, the logic of the Gemara, the Talmud. It's very difficult. You've got to be able to dissect, these ideas and understand them. It takes hours and hours and hours and hours, to get into this stuff. How long does it take for a person to become a good learner in Talmud? It takes like 5-10 years, at least, right? Of daily study, regular, daily study. So Kadosh Baruch Hu said, you know what? This time, it's going to be a different kind of Torah. No more spoon feed, no more Mr. Nice Guy. This time, if you want to get into the Torah, you're going to have to work hard. Now let's see you, right? Now let's see you. Everything I gave you, Gan Eden, and you went back to church. Right? Okay, you went back to church, huh? Okay, now you want to come back to the synagogue? This time you're going to have to work hard. No easy, no freebies. That's the way it is. So Kadosh Baruch Hu changed the whole world over here, understand? What happened was that the Jews now had to struggle. And this is signified by the fact that this time Moshe Rabbeinu had to hew out the tablets, right? You got to work. Don't just tell me you want to get close to me. You really want to get close to me? So start working, roll up the sleeves. Let's go.
Get the glue, put it back together.
It's not going to come with hanging around in the Dunkin' Donuts. Believe me, it's not going to come over there.
Put the tablets back together.
He had to make a new one. Yeah.
Yeah, but they had to put it back together to see what was written.
No. So what happened was like this. Now, what happened was that he told them the broken ones were they were kept, right. They were kept in the ark. Yes. So what happened was, because they were holy.
Yes.
So what happened was, right, that Moshe Rabbeinu this time had to redo everything himself. So Kadosh Baruch Hu was telling him, right, now you want to get back to me? There's a story, by the way, I can tell you that when I was starting out in my learning, 30 years ago. So what happened was that I had the problem with the language barrier. It was very hard. So I was buying, these books, translations, the Art Scroll, and this Sonsino. There was an older one called Sonsino in the old days, right? Which was like a pretty shabby one, pretty, not exactly a good translation. So Now there's better ones, okay, but still, translation is translation. So what happened was that I went to my rabbi.
English, Rabbi.
I went to my rabbi, and he was in Lakewood, in New Jersey. So we drove over there. I think it was me and my wife. We went together. So we drove over. Actually, this was before I got married. Yeah, before I got married. So I drove over there, and I see the rabbi there, and first time I ever met this man. So he comes down. He was upstairs. He had the house, whatever. Comes down, and so he tells me, okay, so what's your question? So I said, I just want to ask you, Rabbi, how do I go about learning, the language, getting to a language barrier? So you know what he does, right? He looks at me and he says, he says, okay. He's got a shelf over there right behind him, right? Books. So he pulls out a chumash, opens it up, bach, right? So he tells me, okay, can you read this verse? What does it mean? So I told him, I said, I'm sorry, I don't know what it means. I can read it, but I don't know the meaning. So he tells me, he says, I'll tell you what he told me, but before I tell you that,
Halfway there.
before I tell you that, you have to understand, right? This was something very, very amazing. You know why? Because he opened up exactly to the portion that we're studying right now, where the tablets were destroyed, and then the second tablets came in. You understand? That's exactly where it was opened up. That's where he opened it to make the second tablets. So I was like, oh my God, then I read it. I read into it, and I said, look what he did. He opened it right exactly where we're just talking about. So what does that mean? He was trying to tell me, right? Or God was trying to tell me, like this time you got to work harder. What do you think? It's going to be a freebie? Not going to be a freebie this time. If you want to learn the language, it's not like before the sin of the golden calf. Now you got to work. So you know what the rabbi tells me? He says, you want to really learn the language? So he tells me like this: buy a good dictionary first of all, right? What does that mean, good dictionary? By the way, good dictionary means a good Torah dictionary. At that time, the best one was a Jastro, which was written by a certain professor, whatever. He was very knowledgeable. This guy, he wrote it about more than 100 years ago. This dictionary, right? Talmudic Midrash dictionary, right? So okay, fine. So he tells me, you got to get a good dictionary, and start from the beginning of the Chumash, go word by word. There's the Hebrew, there's also a Targum, right? The translation of a Targum. Targum is like written by, what that was written by? Onkelos, right? Talk about this Roman guy. So the convert, right? He wrote this. So you got to read the Hebrew, read the Targum, which is Aramaic, understand both words, understand the root of the word. The root of the word in Hebrew is like 3 letters, usually, 2 or 3 letters. So you got to get the root, the prefix, suffix, know everything. He says, go like word by word like that and finish the whole Chumash. That's what he told me. So I was like, oh, wow, that sounds pretty heavy, Like, I wonder how long that's going to take me to do.
Years.
So exactly what you said. It took me years to do that. A couple of years. But the truth is, right after I did it, though, wow, it really worked.
Wow.
Right? Now, all of a sudden, like the whole, Torah is open in front of you because you know Hebrew, you know Aramaic. Both languages, pretty much, you're holding pretty good over there. So now you can learn just about any book. Open up anything. You still have to learn more. It never stops, by the way. You never stop learning. You know what I mean? The learning process is a lifetime process. It doesn't stop in 3 years or 5 years. You get your bachelor's degree, master's degree. It doesn't work like that. There's no such thing in Torah. You get your degree and then you go. No, it doesn't work like that. You have to keep learning all your life. You know what I mean? That's the way it is. The Torah is something which requires a lifetime of devotion. It's not a business, Some people unfortunately make it into that. You know what I mean? Yeah. But it's not supposed to be like that. So what we're saying is, Rabbi, that a person who really wants to get close to Hashem, he has to labor very hard. And the reason is because of this, because of the sin of the calf. Everything is that's the fault. Also the great punishments, right, that the Jews got all over the history. You know what they say, right? What happened? Where was God? Where was God over here? Where was God over here? Why this happened? Why that happened? Everything is because of the sin of the egel, of this calf. Can you imagine? If you can't find anything, blame it on this, because this is also involved. Every time the Jews get punished, that's also part of the itinerary there. It's all a part of the menu. This is the part on the menu. This is the appetizer, the main course, and the dessert.
So the golden calf brought this upon you.
Can you imagine such a thing like this? That the golden calf was considered to be such a great sin, like this. That Kadosh Baruch Hu considers it to be like a game changer, a deal breaker. That's what it is. So another thing. Another thing, which is considered to be one of the amazing things about this, is that now you have to understand one thing. By the way, as we already mentioned in the last weeks, that when the Jewish people were offered the Torah, so when it comes to the written Torah, they accepted it willingly, no problem, right? When it comes to the oral Torah, there was a lot of hesitation there, right? They didn't want to accept that because it's too hard. Who wants to sit there and study all day? In order to learn the oral Torah, you have to study all the time. You have to study on a regular basis because it's hard. You have to delve into it and go into the depths of it.
No wife, no life.
So, if a person doesn't study, you can't acquire the oral Torah. So therefore, the Jews' inclination was they didn't want to get involved with that, right? They'd rather hang around Dunkin' Donuts, watch CNN, some Fox, YouTube, this, all kinds of things. Why get our hands dirty with this stuff, We don't want, religion is nice, but, we have other things to do also, other activities, all kinds of...
And again, the calf came from what? It came from the spoils of Egypt.
Oh, okay, yeah, okay,
yes?
It's true, it's
and
true.
Gave it to the kid.
Yeah.
For the blind man. So they said.
Yeah, we talked about that, by the way.
The blind man said.
That's what caused them to sin, the fact that they had the wealth. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, you're right.
That's how it started.
Yeah, it's true. But as we said, right, that there's something deep to understand over here. The deep element is that in the old days, when the Torah was first given, also when Adam Arishon was in this world, the Torah was not such a heavy thing like it is today. What makes the Torah heavy, by the way? What makes it so heavy? Why most people can't keep it so well? You know why? Because it's got a lot of details. Halakha, gotta keep this, gotta keep that, and a lot of people, say. But we talked about this, by the way, on Thursday. That the halakha is also part of the Torah. It's not something that the rabbis made up, from the sky. But if you didn't hear my lecture about that, look at on YouTube, Facebook, you'll see there. Right, what we said about that. That's also a part of the Torah. Something we received on Har Sinai.
What about the Talmud?
Yeah, that's everything.
Same thing?
Sure. So why am I telling you this? Is because this was not the original plan, though. What does that mean? The original plan was that not that the Torah should be so involved and so difficult and so finite, all the minute details of all these things. This is something which most people cannot bear. They find it just too cumbersome.
Punishment.
I can't bear all this stuff. All these halachot. I don't know. I'm not interested so much in that. I'd rather do other things. I have recreational activities. I want to go. Go bowling. Whatever, miniature golf. I don't know, whatever it is. Right? I'm not interested in this stuff. But the truth is, right, that this now, because of the sin of the egel, of the calf, became a very, very important element of Judaism. A crucial element. What does that mean? That if a person doesn't know halakha, that's not really Jewish. That's not really Judaism. Just to know like some chumash, Oh yeah, we learned chumash, I was in first grade, second grade, third grade, we learned some Bible, this kind of stuff. These books and that books, okay, you learn Bible, very nice. Okay, you learn the stories, right? Moshe Rabbeinu, Yoshua, King David, right? The Pinchas, right? All kinds of things. You learn these things. Oh, Eliyahu Navi. Oh, good, nice. But you think what? It ends over there? No, it doesn't end over there. Right?
The Talmud is not part of the 5 books of Moses.
Well, yeah, we talked. By the way, you have to see the lecture that we spoke about on Thursday, too, right? Because over there we described exactly how it all fits into one body, right? The truth is, the Talmud also was received on Har Sinai. It was received on Mount Sinai, the Talmud. If you want to understand how that was, look at my lecture, right? Or next time, don't miss it, because
originally I thought that the Talmud was of the rabbis.
That's what everybody thinks. A lot of people think this way. So in order to refute that notion, right, this mistaken notion, that's why we gave a lecture on Thursday about that. But all the oral Torah comes from Har Sinai. which includes the Talmud, the Halakha, the Midrash, the Kabbalah, everything. It was all received over there. So, yeah.
No, I have a problem with the timeline.
Yeah. I understand you, yeah.
Because the Talmud speaks a lot of things about the Romans, and, over there, they talk about, who. Now, he came after.
Right. Okay, so you know what it is? The answer to your question is like this. That the truth is, Moshe Rabbeinu was given the whole history of the world. In other words, he knew every generation what's going to be. He was given the whole history. He knew each generation who's going to be the leader, who's going to be the troublemaker, right? This guy, the troublemaker, right? Oh, everything. Prophecy. Moshe Rabbeinu was given all the information until Mashiach. Every generation what's going to be. This is also part of the Torah, to know the future as well. Wow. You know what I mean? Prophecy. Not like the fake prophecy that they have, the goyim. Because you know how you can really tell if prophecy is true or fake. No. Their prophecy never comes true. Our prophecy, all prophecies that they said, everything came true. You know what I mean?
In the Talmud that Ben Laden was predicted.
By the way, you should know that's a critical difference. The prophecies that were prophesied by the Jewish prophets, everything came true. The destruction of the second temple was prophesied. Everything was prophesied down to the T, right?
Donald Trump.
Crossing T's and I's, everything was prophesied. But what about the goyim, right? They don't. Their prophecy is not real after Bilam, right? Bilam was the last prophet that they had. So after that, they're all fixed. So what do? Either they steal something from the Torah, maybe something was written there. They try to make it look like it's theirs, whatever. That's if they're lucky, if they're able to learn something over there. But besides that, right? They can't really prophesy. You know why? Because they don't know what's going to be in the future. They have no information about that. What are they going to tell you, right? It's going to be like this. It's going to be like, who knows? They don't know nothing.
So you're saying a lot of the stuff that's written in the Talmud,
yeah,
about things that would come after.
Moshe Rabbeinu knew everything. He was taught everything. Yeah, every future generation he was taught who's going to be the leader, who's going to be the rabbi, who's going to be this, who's going to be that, everything. He knew everything, Moshe Rabbeinu. Right, this was part of the.
That Trump will be president. What's going to happen? Well,
okay.
What you're saying.
So let's we're talking about the Jewish leaders, by the way, right? Yeah. More, Well, okay, but the truth is that he's also an important leader. This guy, he's important, right? So
runs the world.
Yeah, he's an important leader. Okay, so whatever. But the point is, right, that Moshe Rabbeinu was given everything. So getting back to what we said, right? I just want to make this point because it's very important to understand. So people always have this question about Judaism, like why all these laws? They're cumbersome. They're very difficult. I can't relate to that. It's just too hard for me. It's too difficult. Can't. So you know what the answer is? That because of the sin of the Chet HaEgel, of the calf, the halakha now is all these details in halakha are extremely, extremely critical, crucial and critical. Without that, there is no Judaism. What does that mean? You can't be like a half-baked Jew, Yeah, I know some things. I learned some Bible. I learned, this. I learned Chumash. I learned about Moshe. I saw, the movies from Hollywood. I saw those things. I saw those things. But now I know what the Judaism is about. You really think so? That's what Judaism is about? These stories? The story is not everything, right? By the way, you should know that a real Talmid Chacham is not somebody who just knows stories, what happened in the Bible. This is not enough. Even though if he knows them very well. There are some rabbis who know Bible very well. But when it comes to halakha, they don't know much, very, very ignorant. So that's not really called Talmid Chacham, right? That's just a, Bible scholar, whatever you want to call it, right? That a person has to be Talmid Chacham, he has to know halakha. So trying to explain to you, right, why all these details in halakha? Why is this so important? Why is it so crucial?
Because that's the way to be a Jew.
You know why? Yeah, it's true, but why? Why do you need so much? Why do Hashem have to make it so complicated?
God said so. He's punishing you.
I had actually one relative who used to ask me this question all the time. He wasn't religious.
A lot of people.
And he would tell me, what does God need this for? Like all this, what does He need it for? To make us suffer, to make us, uncomfortable. What is this business, And if we don't do it, we get punished, And we, what kind of?
That's what they don't believe.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They say it can't be like that. It cannot be.
Agnostic. Well, that's what they become.
Okay.
No.
So, okay, maybe. So, what's the answer to that? The answer really lies over here, to what we're talking about here. What does that mean? As we said, right, that the sin of the calf was a game changer. It was something that would change the whole world. What was the change? The change was that the world now went into impurity, right? It degraded, it got degradation. The world went into a degraded state after the sin of the calf. Everything became degraded. Everything became spoiled and ruined and rotten. The whole world went down, Why are you always putting us down? It went down. Everything was put down. So, right, what does that mean for us? That means that we have to somehow avoid this problem, because if we're going to live in the world without any protection, without any fence, without any barrier, right? Mexico barrier, whatever, right? You need a barrier.
The wall.
If you need a barrier for Mexico, all the more so you need a barrier from the sins, right? A spiritual barrier, not a physical barrier, right? Trump wants to make a physical barrier. We Jews need a spiritual barrier. You understand? That's what we need. So what is our spiritual barrier? The spiritual barrier is that we keep the halakha. When you keep the halakha, it keeps you away from the dirty world, from the filthy world that we have around us, right? You know how it is, right? You go anywhere. You go out there, you get disgusted, right? You want to throw up. Because, the world is such a dirty place. It's so filthy, it's so corrupted. Whatever you do, you can't escape it. You open up the TV, hopefully you don't have one, but if you open up this, you open up your computer, you open up the internet, everywhere it's filth and disgusting and corruption, and all these things that we talked about before the class, right? You guys it's a disgrace, Why would you want to live in a world like this that's so dirty and filthy? But the truth is that after the Chet of the Egel, after the Jews sinned with the golden calf, this is what happened to the world. It became a filthy place. So therefore, HaKadosh Baruch Hu said to the Jews now, okay, now you want to be close to me? You want to do tshuva? You want to repent? So what you have to do is keep the halakha. You know what that means? That the halakha will put a barrier between you and the world. You arise above the world. You get into a different plateau, right? Especially when it comes to keeping Shabbat, right? You want to know, by the way, how amazing keeping Shabbat is? How strong it is? I'll tell you something that you're going to knock your socks off, right? If you have socks. I hope you brought some socks. It's very cold. But you know what it says? It says in the... you know what it says in the Torah about that? That if a person keeps Shabbat really, really good, even if he serves idols, he's forgiven for that. Can you imagine such a thing like this?
Wow.
Even if he goes to church, he's forgiven for that too, because he keeps Shabbat perfectly.
We're across.
Can you imagine such a thing like this? This is something amazing.
What are you supposed to keep on Shabbat?
We have a lot of details, right? We have studied all these things. 39 labors, all the things, right? We talked about it a little bit, but we have to talk more. There's a lot more to cover.
You might scare us off with all this stuff.
Right. So, I know that. So, what I'm saying is like this, right? That the barrier between us and the Goyim, why, the accusations that they utter, against us, all these things that bother you so much.
The Jews did it.
You know why it bothers you? Because there's no barrier. Once you make the barrier, it won't bother you anymore. Because you're not with them. You're not a part of them. If you want to be with them, a part of that disgraceful, corrupted world that they live in. You understand? So you're going to suffer from that. You're going to eat your heart out all the time. What did she say today? This Muslim lady, what did she say? This crazy lady in the Congress, some nutty lady over there, who covers her hair, this nutcase over there, this crazy one, this Palestinian, whatever, this crazy one over here in Brooklyn, another nutcase, right? All these nutcases, these people are nuts. They're living in a filthy world, disgusting world. So the only way to rise above that in the time after the sin of the Egel was done is to keep the halakha. So therefore a person has to study halakha. A person has to be expert in halakha. And this is what the Torah is all about now in our times, you see? You know what it says, by the way? It's something amazing. It says in the Talmud that after the Bet HaMikdash was destroyed, the only thing that Kadosh Baruch Hu values in this world, his presence is over there. You know what it is? The place where they study halakha. Those places where they study halakha, Bet Midrash, Yeshiva, Kolo, all these places, those are the places that Kadosh Baruch Hu is present over there. His divine presence is there. And Kadosh Baruch Hu be'olamo el arba amot shel halakha. What does that mean? Wherever halakha is studied, over there Hashem is there. You're protected. You have a barrier between them and you. There's nothing between you and them. Why is that? Because It says the Zohar Kadosh over there. By the way, it also corroborates this idea. It says, right, that a person who doesn't keep halacha, he falls into the klipot, he falls into the impurity. He falls into the garbage that they're in, those people, those disgusting frogs over there, in Congress, these frog ladies.
The sewage.
These lady frogs over there, right? This frog and that frog, one from Minnesota, one from, right, one from whatever, right? God knows where she's from.
The swamp.
Right.
Snake.
Wisconsin, whatever, right? All these frogs over there, you know why they're opening their mouth and talking and bothers people? Because they're not attached. If you're attached to the Torah, if you're attached to Shabbat, if you're attached to the holiness of halakha, these people are worthless. They're meaningless. They're cockroaches. These people. That's what they are. They're nothing.
So an answer to most things is the Torah. Is that what the answer is?
Yeah. But you see, the nature of the Torah had changed because of what happened, of the sin of the calf. You understand? Before, you know what was written in the Ten Commandments? Just the Ten Commandments. This time, Kadosh Baruch Hu said, you know what? On 10 Commandments, I'm going to also write the halakha. Also, there's going to be on those boards, the luchot. This time, it's going to be also halakha there. Why? Why should be halakha over there? Because this time, it's a different Torah. It's a different trip. It's a different experience now. You have to involve yourself in Torah. You have to work hard. You have to labor. You have to exert yourself.
Was that written by the finger of God?
Yeah.
Okay.
So what happened was that the whole nature of the world, the whole nature of the Torah, everything has been altered because of this sin. This sin was a deal breaker. It was a game changer.
Now, is that the Torah that was offered to everyone and they didn't accept it?
Exactly. They didn't want the oral Torah. Yeah, they didn't want that.
Reluctantly.
Right, they were reluctant about that. Yes. Why is that? Because, this is too hard.
It's all talk.
I mean, come on, give me a break, You want to control everything, how I move my finger, this way, that way. Come on. How much you want to control me, You don't want to give me any freedom to be myself, to express myself. So you know what they say, the Chazal, right? Just the opposite of what you think, right? When you don't keep the halakha, when you don't keep the Torah, you become a slave to what? The Yetzer Hara, to the evil inclination. It overpowers you. And then you get bothered by these things, what this frog say, right? This one, right? All these frogs. But when you're connected with Hashem, nobody can touch you. Nobody can come to you. So all these people are worthless. They're insignificant. That's what they are.
But were we born free?
Yeah, we have free choice. Sure.
No, we were born
it's your choice to be a derelict or to be successful. It's your choice.
No, not the will. Not will.
Yeah.
I'm talking about as either individuals or people, that we are born free.
Yeah, you're free. Yeah, sure.
Against all regulation.
But you know what it is? So now look at this, right? Look at this. Look at the way the Torah looks at it. The Torah doesn't look at it like we look at it today. They say, you know what? Who's really the free person? Who's really free?
Those that act free.
Right? So you know what they say? The one who keeps the Torah is free. What does that mean? He's free of the evil inclination. Evil inclination can't get his claws around him. Can't trap him. But once he frees himself from that by keeping the halakha, by keeping the Torah, the evil inclination can't touch him anymore. He has to separate from him. Right? And now he's an independent entity. He's by himself. Now he really is free. So freedom, according to the Torah's definition, it really depends on how well you keep the Torah. That's what makes you into free. The better you keep it, the more you keep it, the more free you are.
No, but what I was saying was that man is born free. Man.
Yeah. Yeah. But what makes you really free is keeping the Torah. This is something, and it's a deep concept, but it's written in the Pirkei Avot. It's written in the Ethics of the Fathers. This, right? You don't have a person who's free except the one.
But how do you get like a due process then? How do you get like if they come after you for not because they're tyrants?
They can't touch you. Once you're inside the Torah,
you're in jail. It don't matter.
They can't touch you.
Studying the Torah.
They can't do nothing to you.
God's with you.
They can't even put their finger on you.
God is with you.
They can't do nothing to you. So when you're in the Torah, they can't do nothing. You're invincible.
Well, the jail guards will be laughing.
Just like Moshe Rabbeinu, right? Came Paro, tried to kill him. His neck turned into marble, and he tried to, chop off his head, the executioner, but it didn't work, right? Nobody can touch you, not Paro, nobody else can touch you. Not those frogs over there, right over there, those people. Nobody can touch you. That's the way it is. But, there's also a bright side to this, right? Which is what? The Moshe Rabbeinu, after all, even though Kadosh Baruch Hu was so much in wrath about us, There was great wrath. Nevertheless, he managed to convince HaKadosh Baruch Hu to forgive us, and we should start with a clean slate.
Okay.
So therefore, what happened was that HaKadosh Baruch Hu told him, okay, he says, he had to go up, by the way, back to heaven, right, to the mountain, and convince HaKadosh Baruch Hu, 40 more days you have to stay there, right? And then, right, he went up twice, right? He went up twice, actually. So they say, by the way, when did he come down after the 2 times that he went up? You know when he came down? It was on Yom Kippur. You know?
The holidays are right around the corner.
Can you imagine? He came down on Yom Kippur. So what does that mean? That they were forgiven on Yom Kippur for the sin of the golden calf. Wow. You see? So once they were really forgiven for this sin of the golden calf, then HaKadosh Baruch Hu told them, okay, now I want you to make me a mishkan, right? Make me a tabernacle. Make me a, right? In our times we call it a shul, right? A synagogue. This was a portable synagogue that they had in the desert. They used to put it up, put it down, right? It was a very holy thing. It was extremely, extremely holy. They say, by the way, that it was more holy than anything that we ever had in the Jewish people. More holy than the Bet HaMikdash even. How do you know, by the way, that the Mishkan was more holy than the Bet HaMikdash? How do you know? You hear this, Yasha?
What?
How do you know that the Mishkan that they had in the desert is more holy than the Bet HaMikdash that they had in Israel? How do we know that? The Mishkan, the little portable thing that they had, shul, was more holy than the Bet HaMikdash.
Wow.
You know why? How do we know that?
Wow.
So the answer is because the Mishkan was never destroyed. No goy was ever able to destroy the Mishkan. It was never destroyed. The Bet HaMikdash was destroyed, right?
Yes.
They came, the goyim, they burned it down, they knocked it down, they burned it down to the ground. When it comes to Mishkan, it was never destroyed by anybody. You know why? Because it was more holy than the Bet HaMikdash.
Wow.
What's the reason why, by the way, the Mishkan was more holy than the Bet HaMikdash? What's the reason why? But the Bet HaMikdash was much bigger, much greater, larger, it was more grand. So what's the reason why? What's the idea? You know why? Because the Bet HaMikdash, if you look in the Bible, if you look in the Book of Kings, who built physically the Bet HaMikdash? Who built it physically? They were servants. They were non-Jews. Non-Jews built. Right. They were converts. They converted also some converts and whatever. So also the material. Yeah, they were slaves. You're right. But there was also non-Jews who chopped down the trees. And they sent over the wood and all the materials. So the Bet HaMikdash was partially built by non-Jews. So therefore it could be destroyed because the work of their hands is not as holy. But the Mishkan was only built by Jews, by holy Jews, by people who are scholarly Jews. So therefore, since it was built by the Jews, the Mishkan was considered to be more holy than the Bet HaMikdash. Nobody was able to destroy it. And therefore, right, the Mishkan was never destroyed. So what happened? Once they finished using the Mishkan, what does that mean they finished using it? The Bet HaMikdash was built, right? So what happened was that it was packed up, they packed it up, they closed it down, and they buried it in the ground. It was never destroyed.
Mm-hmm.
No nation was able to touch that. You know why? Because it was built by the holy hands of the Jews. With their intention, the holy intention.
The scholars.
By the way, I ask you a question, right? We'll end up with this, right? So if that's the case, right? Okay, fine. So the Mishkan, by the way, this was also a sign that Kadosh Baruch Hu fully forgave the Jews. He wanted the goyim to see that. What does that mean? That even though they sinned greatly with the golden calf, nevertheless, I allowed them to build the Mishkan, and my presence is going to be there. My holy presence is going to be the Mishkan. That showed the whole world that the Jews were totally forgiven for their sin. That's what it showed. So fine. Okay, that's beautiful, right? This was a sign that Hashem stays with us even when we sin. Even when the Jews sin, HaKadosh Baruch Hu doesn't leave us. He stays with us. So, okay, fine. So ask you a question, right? If that's the case, that the Mishkan was more holy than the Bet HaMikdash, because it was built by holy Jews, with holy intentions, holy kavanah, so then why didn't Hashem also command that Bet HaMikdash should be built by Jews? What, they didn't have enough people there to build? Or what, they didn't have enough workers?
It's a Jewish thing.
Right? That's a Jewish thing, right? But what's the problem? So why didn't HaKadosh Baruch Hu also allow the Jews to build the Bet HaMikdash as well? Why is that? Why, he wanted to be destroyed? So you know what the answer is? Yes. The answer is yes. What does that mean? That he knew Kadosh Baruch Hu, right? Since he knew the future, he knew what was going to be. The Jews were going to sin. The Bet HaMikdash was eventually going to be destroyed. So therefore, what he did was, he preferred that the Bet HaMikdash should be built by Goyim. Why? Because if the Jews sin, he will take out his wrath on the Bet HaMikdash and not on the Jews themselves.
Yes.
This is better. He had to take out his wrath on something, so therefore it's better to take out the wrath on the Bet HaMikdash, right? On the wood and stone and the gold and silver which is there. Better to take out the wrath on that and destroy that than to destroy the Jewish people. So therefore, right, this is the reason why Kadosh Baruch Hu had mercy on us, that the Bet HaMikdash was built by non-Jews. So therefore, he could take out his wrath on that when the Jews sinned, and not the Jews themselves, right? And this is the reason why it was done like that. But in the end, B'ezrat Hashem, something amazing, right? I want to tell you. They say that the third Bet HaMikdash, which is going to be rebuilt, it's not going to be like the first two. What does that mean? It'll never be destroyed, number one. Just like the first two were destroyed. But there's also another thing over there. They say, by the way, that each Bet HaMikdash, according to Zohar Kadosh, had different qualities. Spiritual qualities. The Bet HaMikdash, the first one had a certain quality. The second one has a certain quality. These two qualities were different. And these were two different qualities that were needed for that particular generation, for that particular time period. But they say, right, the third Bet HaMikdash is not going to be like that. What does that mean? It's going to include both qualities of the first one or the second one as well. So therefore, the third Bet HaMikdash is going to be perfect in holiness. It's going to have all the qualities that we need. It's going to be a perfect specimen of holiness, right? Never destroyed. By the way, who's going to make the third Bet HaMikdash? As all the Chazal say, right? Whether you look in the Talmud, whether you look in Rashi, whether you look in the Midrash, whether you look in the Zohar Kadosh, they all say the same thing. Third Bet HaMikdash is going to be built by who? By Kadosh Baruch Hu himself, right? We're not going to build that. We're not going to build anything. There's not going to be construction, no workers, no cranes, right? No tools, no nothing. Hakadosh Baruch Hu will bring down third Bet HaMikdash automatically made, right? Ready made, no work, no labor, no nothing, right? Everything is 100% perfect, 100%. And what he's going to do is not only that, right? Can you imagine? Not only is he going to rebuild the Bet HaMikdash himself, but he will also rebuild Jerusalem, and he will pave it with precious stones. Everything will be precious over there. The whole city will be full of precious stones, rubies, emeralds, diamonds, all kinds of precious things. The whole city will be paved and lined with precious stones. Can you imagine? I don't know. I hope so, but I haven't heard about that yet. But that's what it's going to be, right? So it's going to be something very, very special. It's going to be the work of the hands of God Himself. The third Bet HaMikdash and the Jerusalem itself, the whole city. Can you imagine? What's such an amazing thing like this? Kadosh Baruch Hu should bring us very soon, B'ezrat Hashem, to that time. B'mihera v'yameinu, amen. Thanks for coming.
Okay, Rabbi.
God bless.
Listen, if you want, I'll see if I can make a little room in the back.
I have foot transportation.